On the morning of June 22nd, 2025, just as the first light of dawn began to brush against the roaring waters of Niagara Falls, something happened that no one was prepared for. The falls, a symbol of raw, natural power and timeless beauty, suddenly transformed before the eyes of everyone watching. What was once a familiar, thundering sheet of white and blue became a deep, horrifying shade of red. It was as if the river itself had started to bleed, turning the cascading water and rising mist into a scene straight out of a nightmare. For nearly 10 minutes, the world-famous Horseshoe Falls ran crimson, and the people there could only stare, paralyzed by a mix of awe and terror. Tourists who had arrived early for sunrise photos found themselves witnesses to an unexplainable event. The sun had barely crested the horizon at 5:36 a.m. when the change began. At first, a faint tint spread through the water, almost like the pink blush of morning light. But within moments, that pink deepened into a rich, dark red that spread across the entire width of the falls. Those closest to the railings began to back away in shock. The rushing water threw up a thick mist that caught the red hue, creating swirling clouds that looked like crimson smoke rising into the gloomy sky. One visitor, Eleanor Torres, captured it all on video. Her footage shows a stunned crowd, some with hands covering their mouths, others fumbling for their phones to record what they were seeing. In her own words, "It looked like the river was bleeding. People were gasping, some were screaming, and everyone was just pointing. Nobody knew what to do or what it meant." Within minutes, social media exploded with photos and shaky videos of the blood-red waterfall. Hashtags like #RedFalls, #NiagaraBleeds, and #BloodyMorning started trending worldwide. Some comments joked nervously about a real-life apocalypse or horror movie. Others speculated it was some sort of elaborate prank or viral marketing stunt. But as the seconds ticked by, it became clear that no one, not the tourists, not the locals, and not even the authorities, had any idea what was going on. Environmental officials were immediately alerted. Park staff and local police arrived at the observation areas, urging visitors to remain calm and stay back from the railings while investigations began. Drones were launched over the falls to scan for any unusual objects, leaks, or signs of contamination. Boats on standby in the lower Niagara River were dispatched upstream to look for any potential spills or pollutants that could have caused such a drastic color change. But there was nothing. No barrels, no ruptured pipes, no suspicious activity spotted from above or below. By 6 a.m., the crimson color began to fade just as mysteriously as it appeared. Within minutes, the falls were once again their usual silvery white, with mist drifting up into the soft grey morning sky. The crowd slowly started to disperse, many still glancing back in disbelief, whispering theories or shaking their heads. Even after the falls returned to normal, the shock of what had just happened lingered in the air like an unspoken question. Authorities quickly issued statements reassuring the public that no hazardous materials had been detected in the water and that there was no evidence of a chemical spill. Representatives from the Niagara Parks Commission confirmed that they had not conducted any dye tests that morning, something they occasionally do for scientific studies or to measure water flow, but none had been scheduled or authorized for that day. They stressed that while non-toxic dyes are safe and typically used with permits, this event had caught everyone off guard. Speculation took off immediately. Some wondered if it was the work of a rogue artist or activist group hoping to make a statement about pollution or climate change. Others suggested an elaborate publicity stunt meant to draw attention to the falls or an upcoming event. A few more extreme voices even claimed it was a supernatural omen or a sign of impending disaster. Theories ranged from scientific explanations to conspiracy-laden ideas of secret experiments gone wrong. But none of them were supported by any evidence. Hydrologists and experts from both the Canadian and American sides of the border were brought in to study water samples and video footage. Lab teams began testing for dyes, minerals, and other substances that could have caused such a dramatic effect, but initial results were inconclusive. "We've never seen anything like this," said Dr. Rebecca Thompson, a leading hydrologist called in to assist. The scale of the color change, how quickly it spread and then vanished, and the complete lack of any residual signs, it's all deeply unsettling. Tour operators reported record calls from curious travelers eager to visit the site where the falls bled. Meanwhile, conspiracy theorists online latched onto every new detail or lack thereof. Some argued the authorities were hiding the real cause. Others claimed it was a cover-up for a military experiment or a secret government project. Across message boards and social media threads, debates flared over what could have possibly caused an entire river system to momentarily turn red. Local businesses near the falls saw a sudden rush of visitors hoping to see something unusual, though many were disappointed to find only the usual misty grandeur. Hotels, restaurants and souvenir shops buzzed with conversations about the Red Falls, with staff sharing stories they'd heard from guests who witnessed it firsthand. Even boat tour operators said passengers were more focused on asking about the red water than the history of the falls themselves. In the days following the event, weather reports and atmospheric data were examined for clues. Meteorologists noted that the sky had been overcast with a heavy layer of clouds just before the phenomenon began. Some suggested that a rare lighting effect or atmospheric condition might have created the illusion of redness, but witnesses were adamant that the color was clearly within the water itself, not just a trick of the light. News outlets from around the world descended on Niagara Falls, broadcasting live from the observation decks and interviewing witnesses who described the experience as equal parts terrifying and beautiful. Scientists from multiple countries reached out, offering assistance in analyzing samples and satellite images. Some hoped to find a natural explanation, such as a sudden bloom of red-hued algae or sediment from an upstream landslide. But experts quickly dismissed those possibilities, saying nothing of that sort could have caused such an intense and uniform color change over such a short time. Days turned into weeks, but the mystery only deepened. The official investigation yielded no definitive answers. Test results showed no trace of known dyes or chemicals. Wildlife officials confirmed no fish or aquatic life had been harmed, which ruled out many common pollutants. The theories of light refraction, industrial discharge, and prank dyes were all considered, and each one eventually ruled out for lack of evidence. As time passed, the incident began to shift from breaking news to modern folklore. Local legends started sprouting around the event, with some whispering that the falls had shown a sign of anger from nature itself. Indigenous elders in the region were approached by journalists and curious visitors alike, some wondering if there were prophecies about the river turning red, but no known stories matched what had happened that morning. To this day, the Crimson Cascade remains unexplained. It has become one of the most bizarre moments in the long and storied history of Niagara Falls, a site that has hosted daredevils in barrels, towering ice formations, and powerful light shows, but never anything quite like this. The morning of June 22nd stands alone as a surreal chapter, a reminder that even in the age of science and constant surveillance, nature can still find ways to surprise and unsettle us. Locals who were there still talk about it in hushed, excited voices, sharing photos and videos with friends and visitors. Tour guides now include the tale in their spiels, recounting how the mighty Niagara once appeared to run with blood. Some people come to the falls hoping it might happen again, while others admit they avoid early mornings altogether out of lingering unease. The area's businesses have even started selling t-shirts and mugs depicting red waterfalls, proof that the mysterious event has already become part of Niagara's living legend. As experts continue to study the few remaining water samples and drone footage, the world waits for a conclusive explanation that may never come. Until then, the falls stand as both a symbol of Earth's power and a monument to one of the most inexplicable events ever recorded. And every time the sun rises over the roaring waters, those who were there will remember the morning when the river looked like it was bleeding, a sight so strange and haunting, it still feels unreal.